Disc golf. You think you're starting to mature? You think you're becoming a man? How much do you think you really rely on yourself to mature? I mean, what do you really think your masculinity really is? Is it your cunning, witty dating strategies? Have you mastered female psychology? Is it your ability to get the best out of your friends, or take the best from what your friends have to offer? Are your friends really your friends? Or are they idealistic projections of your unconscious true self? Is your partner really your partner? Or is she just an idealized feminine you? That your unconscious has staffed or recruited to play a role of a character, hoping that this character can replay in your life with the same responsibility that maybe your mother had, hoping this time that this character playing this role, who you think is your girlfriend, who you think it's your wife, it's hoping that it will receive this time around what it didn't receive the first time when you were a kid. You think you're very masculine, you probably, in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, You think you've been through enough stress, heartbreak. You think you carry enough responsibility. How conscious are you to your own behavior? You know, you think you've identified your compulsive behavioral symptoms. I mean, it's easy, really, to point out and identify the pretty obvious ones, which to some people may not be that obvious, like your compulsive desire to travel as fast as your vehicle can travel, or your compulsive desire to get a good physique, compulsive desire to in a pretty respectable fashion, take your stress and discipline yourself to train hard, the gym, get a good physique, get something going, you know, commit yourself. That's a strong, conscious compulsion. It's repetitive. You think that you've identified enough compulsivity to really mature you so you can become aware of your behavior, right? Look, your maturity is how aware you are, really, of yourself. But then let's talk depth. How deep does your awareness of your behavior really go? How many repetitive compulsions have you identified? You think you're seeking some kind of service in a woman, you know, that she can provide you with. You know, you think that you're just seeking the pleasure well, then how come you can't go a day or two without messaging one? Sometimes messaging one from the past. How come you can't find yourself except that you're searching up their names on every platform you can think of? What is it that's driving this repetitive behavior that you think you're conscious to? You think you're conscious that, you know, you just miss this person of the opposite sex and that you are just feeling very hormonal towards them and you're feeling very desirable. You think you've listened to enough lectures, you've listened to 100 hours of masculine dating coaches, and really psychological themed or psychology themed YouTube channels, right? Based around masculinity. You've got 200 hours of Kasich Xander under your belt. You're going in there. You're doing alright. You're getting some kind of attention. You're getting a good match to swipe ratio. You're pulling above. You're pulling and you're punching above your weight with some dates and some attention. You've got a couple hundred hours, maybe a few years of Jordan Peterson under your belt. You've managed to identify what you think is a good part of your behavior. Did you ever hear that from any of these channels and any of these lecturers and speakers who are so confident in their understanding of masculine psychology, did you ever once hear maybe of the possibility that you will only attract your unconscious true self? If your unconscious is holding up a mirror and the only way for it to manifest is by repeatedly, compulsively finding someone that will give you the right reflection of that mirror. So it will constantly hold the mirror and it will seek that mirroring. But it's behind your eyes. See, your unconscious, your archetypal self, looks at the world through your eyes. It sees the world through your eyes. Without your ego really being aware. The mirror is behind your eyeballs. But it's there. You can't see it. But that doesn't mean the moment you see that the person you're with, that the person you are trying to gain validation from, gratification and approval, the moment you see the moment your archetypal self, your undiscovered self, the moment it sees that this person is not reflecting onto your mirror correctly, it will repeatedly detach and continue on the quest to find someone who will give you the correct reflection. It's called mirror transference. Peterson talks a lot about, these narcissistic females with their daddy issues causing all of their narcissism. Never heard him really once talk about you as the man in a repetitive compulsion, in a spell, due to your mother issues. I mean, I've listened to him for over 5 years. He's a self-psychologist. He's a behavioural analyzer. Cognitive, what you consciously think you're aware of. Behavioural. Behavioural therapy, behavioural psychology is self. It's unconscious self. Your behaviour is a direct effect of your unconscious. They're all cryptic Jungians. These postmodern self-psychologists. I like to stick to the Jungian Institute's definitions and terminology. They understood as much as we need to understand, and they put it into words. What came after that, the progress that came after that, was just pure tribalism. It was pure tribalism, really. Your truth is okay. It done us all right for the time being, for that time period. But we have now progressed. Our school, our knowledge, our research now is the evolution. It's bullshit. It's just cryptic. It's just they're all crypto Jungian methods with different terminology. So back to Peterson. Never heard him once talk about this repetitive compulsion in men seeking this event to happen. They're putting the play together unconsciously. They need to find the role of the mother that never blessed them, that never saw them, that never acknowledged their masculinity. And the archetypal is not person. Once it views and sees someone through your eyes, through the eyes of the personality, of the ego, I mean, that's its only way to manifest, is through your behavior. The only way for it to manifest is to be confirmed by another archetype. Which is in another human being. Once it recognizes that archetype, even if it's a shadow archetype, which is psychopathic for all the non-Jungians, once it recognizes another archetype, it's not a human being. Human being is not an archetype. A psychopath is not clinically recognized as a human ego. According to the Jungians, there is a definition of human being. What being a human is, what it means to act like a human, and what it means to act like an archetype, which is a psychopath. Try get Peterson to say this. Try catch him out saying this. Once your unconscious recognizes another archetype, it will unconsciously, narcissistically objectify them into a forced ideal version of your unconscious self, of your true self. Hoping that this ideal object, this time around, in this act, in this play, will confirm and validate your identification with the self, with itself. And it will wait patiently. Some of you idiots in your 20s spend years with your girl, 3, 4, 5 years, completely unconscious, that you've only attracted another archetype. You've only attracted an unconscious version of yourself. That your tribal elders, your spiritual elders, that your idealized projections never validated, i.e. your parents. You've attracted your mother. She is not your mother. She's also not the person that your conscious ego thinks she is. She is who you've unconsciously idealized. And your archetypal self, dragon, is in there praying that she will recognize it and validate it. Because that's its only way to manifest if the conscious ego refuses to. If your conscious ego is repressing your true self from manifesting, then your true self will find a way through a different path. Psychopathology, my friend. We'll get to the females. My channel really is to protect masculinity. I don't know what to do yet to protect femininity. Like, I don't know what to do. I understand feminine psychopathology. And I understand the issues, right? But I think the solution to the feminine psychopathology is to fix the masculine psychopathology, is to fix the masculine psychology. I think so far that's the solution. So my channel will focus on the solution, which is making males aware of what their masculinity is, which is awareness. I mean, you want to be responsible, right? You want to be a man. You know you have to take conscious responsibility, right? Just go deeper. How deep are you willing to go? Are you willing to understand why? Truly why you can't stop your compulsive desire for a female? I don't care whether it's just a physical activity. I mean, if it's purely just physical, and you don't really require anything more, then I guess it's not that deep. If you're very comfortable with your sexuality, and you're that comfortable with your masculinity in a healthy way, then you're consciously aware of what you are seeking, which is pure physical. That's the thing. The archetypal self doesn't know that it needs the physical activity to get that sexual validation and that sexual feeling. A lot of the physical activity that you do with the girl, consciously you think it's enjoyable and you're getting some kind of satisfaction. A lot of the time, it's not even the act itself is not even, you're not being sexually satisfied even during sex. The whole act isn't even sexual. The whole physical activity. The sexual satisfaction comes from an unconscious connection. So you're consciously seeking something from this female. You know, you're on the first, second date. I won't even say third date because most dudes aren't even waiting that long to try and initiate something. You think you're consciously trying to satisfy something that you cannot satisfy with a physical activity. How deep do you understand your behavior? I mean, you understand your behavior really in that much depth. You will start to access your unconscious. So focus on your behavior. I don't mean focus on the way you drive. Focus on the way you walk around your house. Focus on the thoughts that are driving your behavior. And why you want to do those behaviors. Like I said at the start, what is it inside of you that feels this conscious urge to drive, ride at speeds 20 times faster than human beings were ever evolved to do in hundreds of millions of years. Hundreds of millions of years. It's not millions, it's not, we've been practicing our athleticism for 20,000 BC. Your unconscious is primitive. It's hundreds of millions of years. There's something in you that wants to drive your body by any means, whatever vehicle, whatever bike, to speeds that are not humanly comprehensible on a nature level of understanding. It's not a human-like speed, traveling at 300 kilometers an hour. There's something in you that does not have this human-like urge. It has this unhuman-like urge. It's not your conscious ego. It's not you. You were never designed to go more than 20 kilometers an hour. Why? Okay, it gives you the satisfaction, it gives you the thrill, it makes you feel alive. What is it about that behavior that makes you feel alive? Is it the thrill of the sound? Hearing nothing but the wind, like you're flying? Is it perhaps knowing how much danger you're in? I mean, your conscious ego knows how close it is to death. Have you ever thought maybe 99% of your cognitive brain and your DNA has been evolving constantly, being so incredibly close to death, to the point where your cognitive brain, your mind, conscious or unconscious, most of the time unconscious, does not feel like it's fulfilling its natural purpose. It's not being productive towards nature, which is survival, unless you're consciously close to death. You're in danger. Extreme danger. You want to talk psychopathology? You're acting out in a way. I mean, your behavior is unconsciously accelerating your time of death. Look up the definition of necrophilia, my friend. You want to talk behavior. You want to try and understand what the hell it is about your hobby, what the hell it is about your dating strategies, or your driving style, or your cooking style, or your shopping style. You want to talk about why the hell that behavior is the way it is. Remember, this is about being mature, this is about being a man. Man is masculine. Masculine is responsible. Masculine is aware to protectiveness, tuition, right? You're aware. You're so aware of your environment because your survival depends on how well you understand your environment. So you want to understand your behavior. What is it about your behavior that you constantly find yourself accelerating? You're living a life that leads closer and closer to death, but it accelerates it. You're not living out your life naturally. In fact, if you're just living it out naturally, waiting for your death like a normal human being, you're not unconsciously drinking yourself to that outcome, to accelerate that outcome, to accelerate the arrival of that outcome. Then what's the difference between you and a necrophiliac? I mean, forget about the fucking TikTok definitions, the Netflix definitions. Forget about the fucking superficial Western general misused and misleading definitions of this terminology. You want to talk fundamental, you need to understand your behavior. Fundamental. Why do you think you're unconsciously accelerating the arrival of your death? There's something in you that craves it. There's something in you that cannot wait for it. It doesn't want it. It just wants to be close enough to it in order that it feels productive to its nature. The conscious ego just thinks it has an unhealthy smoking habit. I should have one now, actually. Next time I'm going to get cigars. It's just fulfilling. I mean, yeah, it's bad for your health. It's going to make you die quicker. So you're consciously aware of the health risks. But are you conscious enough that the definition of psychopathology is purely behavioral? You act out in that behavior. There's a clinical definition for it. Necrophilia. You identify the repetitive compulsion, whatever it is. You identify that repetitive compulsion in your behavior, and you will have a trail of breadcrumbs that lead to the culprit. That's the culprit. It's in there. And it has a lot more control than you would like to believe. So get a hold of it. It will have you worshipping a female, with your conscious ego thinking that you're loving another human being. It will have you worshipping this person to the point of transferring your entire center of being into this person. It will have you transferring your reason for existence just in order that it manifests. It does not care what happens between these two human beings. It could not care less what happens with you and this person of the opposite sex. It does not care that it will have your ego lower to a standard so pathetic that this human being will commit acts that show your ego how insignificant its transference was. She will cheat. She will emotionally make herself more valuable. She will make herself emotionally available to other archetypes. And your conscious ego has no idea on the planet why the fuck this person that you gave everything to, you didn't just give everything you had to offer. You gave more than you could even handle giving. You gave this person more than you can afford to give, more than your conscious ego could afford to give. But the dragon does not consider it for its survival. It needs to manifest. It needs to survive. It's fucking primitive, man. Its only objective is reproduction and survival. Get it, understand it, right? Force it in. You understand this. You become a man. You need to understand what psychology is. Learn your relationship with it. Learn why it's there. Learn why it does not have 1 ounce of compassion to your inflated, immature, masculine ego. It does not have, in fact, your knowledge mocks it. Your knowledge is an insult to this thing. What you think, your conscious ego thinks that you need to do in order to attract the opposite sex properly is a complete degradation and disrespect to this thing. This thing that controls your respiratory system, your nervous system, your digestive system, your metabolism, your immune system. It controls the levels of oxygen in your blood. It controls the level of sodium chloride in your urine. If it decides to withhold the sodium chloride in your urine, you'll unconsciously dehydrate to death. If it decides to let too much out, one day you go through some traumatic circumstance, and all of a sudden it decides to hold these minerals, to withhold them in your body, or deposit more than it needs to survive. What do you think you're going to do to control that? Are you going to negotiate it with it? Are you going to, ask it nicely? Please don't deposit more sugar than I need to survive from my blood. Do I have to live my life as a diabetic? You need to face this thing. I mean, you're a man. You're brave, right? You think you've been through it, and you've lost, you lost your girl, and you lost your money, you gave it away, and you lost your investments, and you've been through it, and you built your business back up, and you've got over your family dramas, and you've matured up, you've got leadership in your life, you've got responsibility, maybe you're married, maybe your wife looks up to you. What's really looking up to you? What is looking up to you? Is she looking up to you, or is she idealizing you? Is she looking up to you, or is she recruiting you? Is she respecting you, or is she respecting her desires more? Is she looking at you with a mirror behind her eyes. So far, you've been a good reflection. So far, you've reflected the image of her dad, maybe? Her mum? You wanna question her loyalty, or you want to consider her loyalty? Who is she more loyal to? The human being, or the god or goddess that lives inside her, that will subordinate another human being? What makes you think an archetype, God, will hesitate at subordinating your pathetic ego into validating her identification with that archetype? Good luck to you. Good luck to you.